Sure. Mariah thinks it's time to begin. Funny thing.
No, Ted just starts the recording at 6 o'clock.
Yes, but I mean, Mariah started us recording as well. I did my computer.
Nope, that was Ted. That was Ted we heard that said. it's
Okay, we're still
recorded.
paused here then. And I can fix that right now. Nope, it was on.
I just turned it on.
I turned it off and turned it back on. All right, so welcome.
Was that Charlie?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
I can hear Joel over in that corner.
Pacific is attending by Zoom. It's nice. Let's try that again. I would like to call the meeting to order at 6:00. Welcome, everyone. First up, additions and deletions. There've been two. You may not have them all because they're off to the last minute. One of them is identity threat detection and response proposal. And the other one is town hall accessibility new option suggestion, I guess we call it. And I propose we move both of those down to business, but before 9.6.
Joel,
Yes.
I think I was thinking of this about 15 minutes ago, so I'm sorry this is just coming on. I think we need to approve for our pond, Marianne Kosak, our lifeguard, and recreation assistant, Jeremiah. They've all filled in everything. They've all been approved through civil service, but they want to open the pond on the 4th of July weekend. So maybe we should put that on there that the board approves the hiring of those three for the pond season.
We already approved hiring a lifeguard without specifying who. And we already designated Mary Ann and Jeremiah as program administrators for that back in January.
You do it again. I mean,
If you
Yeah,
want.
because they had to reapply and everything. Yeah, they had to reapply because their
since January.
applications were over a year old. So then, so if we were to fall within the timeline of them being approved through civil service, the next part of the timeline would be for you guys to say, okay, they're appointed as such.
Okay.
And we posted all the jobs. We posted all the jobs so that they all went up there. They went through our process of our hiring policy of all being posted.
Okay, so we got Mary Ann, we got Jeremiah, and who's the third?
And the third would be William Montgomery.
Do we not get any other applicants?
There are some others for lifeguard. Mary Ann has looked over everything. And of course, she wants William to be the lifeguard. But we're just looking through the budget to see if she can put anyone else on. So we maybe at the next board meeting, we can, if they want to have another one, and see how that fits into it. But at least if we get those three appointed, they can open their pond.
Yeah.
There might be another one to come, because it'd be so great. They have another younger person also, and she wanted to know if there were, was going to be enough money to just put them on for a little bit, so they could get used to it, so that it kind of sets things up for the next year too.
Yeah, back when we had more interest than we have had in the last few years, we had two lifeguards.
Yes.
And then you had some continuity. If somebody dropped out, you had somebody who was still doing it.
Yes.
So Laura told me earlier that we have a younger person interested, but he's not old enough to be on his own.
Oh.
So he would have to serve with, as
Yeah.
opposed to, then take trading days or whatever.
Okay.
But if we get these three on, then they can, for sure, can open up on that 4th of July weekend.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else? Okay, privilege of the floor. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board, either here in person or in the Zoom audience?
I do.
guess
Well, I can wait for the
you can do it,
others.
Privilege of the floor, sure.
We've done
Catherine?
it before, yeah. I just want to say that I'm very pleased with the way people are able to talk to each other in Danby in spite of the differences that have led to some really scary things and the murders of the people in Minnesota, which was premeditated, et cetera.
Mhm.
And we, in spite of our differences, talk to each other. Not just on the board, but I have many people in Danby with whom I disagree about things, but we laugh together and that's the way we need to be. And I'm glad to be able to say that's how it feels in Danby.
Ted?
Coming. I wanted to thank, excuse me. Want to thank Mariah for making a small change to the minutes in which I indicated that I do not think it was her I asked for information and never got it, but the former town clerk. And the minutes of June 2nd, however, I don't believe I ever used the word sewer, and if I did, I misspoke. I was talking about wastewater treatment facility that the town is considering spending a lot of money on. Sewers are just pipes. And so I do request that the June 2nd minutes be revised to include some version of a transcript of what I actually said. I'm not, I guess we'll hear later, but I'm not quite sure what the fitness court potential is about. I only read very briefly read it over, and it wasn't clear from that what it was. And let's see, there was one other thing. I wonder if you could just answer quickly right now, the Simply Installs proposal for heat pumps. I assumed that $60,000 is being paid for by some grant, not taxpayer money.
Well, it's
That's
not
all.
local taxpayer money, but
Well, yes, of course, it's all taxpayer money, but not local taxpayer money. Thank you for that distinction. Um, I hope you appreciate the humor of that. And with that, I would like to thank all the people who did come to the candidate forum a few weeks ago, and to tell people who are listening to this that it is available online if you would like to spend the time looking at it on YouTube. Links are available on the League of Women Voters website. I also posted them on Facebook. And the nice thing about watching recordings is that you can speed them up to 1.5 times, or even better if your ears are quick, and not have to spend the whole 2 hours listening to it. You can probably get through the whole thing easily in 1.5 hours or less. Thanks. Enjoy your meeting.
you're welcome. Anyone else like to address the board?
I have one thing.
Sure.
At one of the forums, I'm not sure if I can remember which one, somebody expressed concern, not about the skate park happening, but mainly about safety on that edge of the road, and wanted to make sure that if and when it comes to be, that the town is really thorough in making sure that, because it's right at a bend, that's somehow signage, something makes it safe.
Mhm.
So I just want to make sure we remember that.
If we, I'm not sure we'll remember it even if we put it in the meeting, record of the meeting, but we're more likely to.
You'll
Yeah.
remember.
He might remember.
Yes, right. Yeah. We'd have to work with the county on that, of course, the county road there.
Right, right.
I'd love to have that be a problem we have to address.
Ye-
Because that means that the skate park would be happening.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on. There is a piece of correspondence. It's been linked, I believe, to the agenda, has it not?
Yes.
Okay, so if anybody wants to read it, they're welcome to do so. The gist of it is that Rhonda thinks that we should add to our official oath of office, the provision that would have people swear to uphold the comprehensive plan, which I don't think we can do even if we wanted to. Announcements, are there any?
Me again.
Yeah, sure.
So I was downtown for the rally.
Mhm.
And after that, when I was on my way back to the car, I went through the Juneteenth celebration and I saw the IMHS table and was drawn over to it. And I met the woman who is the executive director. Let's see it.
They do.
Kate, yeah.
Okay,
Doug
She-
Garza?
We had a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And she told me that the ribbon cutting for that development that's in Trumansburg. What?
Trumansburg?
Yeah, the new one
Mm-hmm.
is tomorrow
Okay.
from 12 to 2:30. It's in here somewhere. But anyway, the whole thing was very interesting to me because INHS did it.
Yeah.
And they did sewering or to lack of not using the word that Ted just objected to, I think. They did wastewater, et cetera, and they did it and it was very exciting. So they will have I'm gonna meet with her at one point, but anyway, the ribbon cutting is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So it might be fun to go see that if anybody has.
Yeah,
time of
pretty
day.
cool.
What kind of a project is the ribbon cutting for? Is it like a?
It's
It's a big house.
Grove, it's Grove something brother. I'm sorry that I.
It's a
Thank-
housing,
Village Grove, thanks. Yeah,
a combination of apartments and some single family dwellings.
some of them for rent, low income.
Yeah.
Rentals and lower and also affordable, some of the houses for affordable to purchase. And there's a community school, a community daycare school there.
Wow.
So it's a great, we were looking at the Dobson property and
Yeah.
this is an opportunity to go see it being ribbon cut and opened up.
Mhm. And I think that's an example of them using the housing trust to maintain affordability of the ones that they're building.
She was thrilled that we signed up. I told her that it was a little difficult to understand when we had that meeting. She apologized she said she understood completely, but she'd come back. Kate would come and give us.
She may
it was
have to,
wonderful.
because I was told by Jay Franklin that he doesn't recognize what we did as having passed a law.
Oh,
so-
interesting.
Well, we passed a
Yeah.
resolution, but we didn't provide a text,
Oh,
so oops. So we may have to go back and redo it.
I
okay.
know I do much better on a second lecture. For the
Well,
first time, it's
yeah.
a lot of new stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you look it up, and then the second time you actually get it.
Yeah. Well, the other person was very, very enthusiastic and spoke very, very fast and sort of jumped around. And she doesn't usually do,
Delia Liaro, you mean?
right.
Yeah.
Did you happen to mention the name of the project they're cutting the ribbon on tomorrow?
Village Grove.
Greg helped me out with it just a second ago.
Village Grove.
40.
Did you get the time of the beginning?
Yeah,
12-ish?
12 to 1:30. I need to look at it again.
Yeah,
I thought I printed that paper, but it's probably sitting in my computer. It's midday. By the time,
mhm.
at one point during the meeting, I can say, oh, by the way, the time is such.
Their public website says it's June 17th at 1 p.m.
1 to 2:30 then. Thanks. Thank you.
All right. Is he Dan here? Yes, he is.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I don't have a lot to report today. The thing I'm getting asked about the most is effects from the federal government, and my response is that, you know, it's all still words so far. There's been almost no real actions of any consequence. So we're just like everybody else, just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen next and whether the threats will be made real or not. There's been quite a bit of turnover at the county recently in some of our top positions, but we unlike, let's say, a year ago, we are getting a lot of applications and we've moved through them quickly. And tomorrow we'll be appointing a health commissioner and a finance director. We are also going to be appointing a commissioner of Department of Social Services that will be happening very soon. And then our county highway superintendent, Jeff Smith, he's still on the job, so we expect this summer we'll be replacing him. And then the only other thing I was going to mention is that the county legislature usually meets twice a month, but we're taking off the first meeting of July to give a chance for staff to go on vacation and such. It's the week of 4th of July anyway. So I'm still on the job, but there's going to be less meetings, less decisions made. That's my report.
Thanks. Things will happen here in Danby though.
That's where the connection is.
Yeah, I don't see Keith here. Is there anything to report from highway, Laura?
No, just our normal thing. He's just going around preparing different roads, and getting things ready to try to make some decisions on where he wants to put the money this year on the different roads. Other than that, no, it's just work as usual.
Okay, but we look forward to hearing from Keith on what he wants to do.
Yes, I know. Our paving will probably happen a little bit later in the summer. So stay tuned.
Right. Well, all of our water district candidate for the water district committee were invited to attend tonight so that the board could meet them all and ask questions. But I don't see anybody besides Matt here.
Would you like me to come up? I don't know with the Zoom.
Well, yeah, I think for them to be able to hear, it would be good if you're at least in the front row.
Sure. So, would you just like me to introduce myself or?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so my name is Matt Weiss. I live just across the street on Durfee Hill. I saw in the Danby newsletter, I saw the advertisement for the opening on the water district. And it really appealed to me, particularly its relationship, of course, to the infrastructure of the village. And I remember reading about the water line break this past winter. And so it was kind of top of mind when I applied. I don't really have any civil engineering experience. I'm actually a software engineer. I was recently working at Cornell. And I think about the only, I think, relevant on-the-job experience is I have a little bit of GIS knowledge that may or may not be valuable to the water district. But besides that, yeah, that's the long and short of it. I'm happy to answer his questions.
Were you able to go to one of their meetings or?
Yeah, so this 2 weeks ago, I went to the water district meeting and they invited me here to chat.
Okay.
So
All three were present for that.
Oh, good.
It was a good opportunity to talk to everybody.
So what are your feelings about water?
yeah, so I like that question. Yeah, so
Drink more of it.
I'm really interested in ecology and I guess sustainability. So part of my interest in the water district is particularly its place as like a public utility is just having resilient infrastructure, especially in whatever kind of economic climate the country gets in the future, especially with climate change. I think clean water and just the accessibility of a public utility like water, in addition to like electricity and such, is important for just bare minimum life in, you know, a quote unquote developed country. So.
Yeah, I also love ecology. How did you become interested in life and ecology?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Software side. I'm also in IT and do a little bit of software.
Okay.
But I also love biology and ecology.
Yeah, so without giving my whole biography, I guess I was first introduced to college. I'm an Eagle Scout. And so my Eagle Scout project was, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. And for my project.
Sorry.
What?
Everyone here seems to be from Ohio.
I'm from Ohio. That's a
Didn't
little
mean to
Born in Ohio.
Didn't mean to interrupt, sorry.
No, yeah, please. Yeah, so my project was, there's the Columbus Zoo in Ohio, and there was a person who was on, can't remember how she was affiliated with the Columbus Audubon, but the zoo was looking for people to assist in constructing Eastern bluebird boxes. You know, it came up and I helped them kind of sort out the funding and stuff, and we built the boxes and such. And so that was my first introduction. I've always enjoyed nature and being out in nature, but that was my first introduction to like the importance of, you know, the different members of ecosystems and how they support one another. And incidentally, it's how I was introduced to Cornell many years ago through the Lab of Ornithology.
Birds lead to Cornell. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a quick, short line.
So.
Cool. Thanks.
Mhm.
Yeah. Other probing questions or?
I don't have.
Don't you
any.
have any probing
No,
questions?
no further questions. I mean, clearly you're
Yeah.
interested, and that was the part that interested in. You didn't say just specifically why you're interested in that. You said what you're interested in water
Mhm.
and a few other things, but and IT, but what in particular regarding the West Danby Water District?
Yeah, I mean, since I haven't been too involved with the way the sewer district and stuff is concerned, like the discussions with the grant that's recently given to the town. I don't know how that factors into it, but that was top of mind. Like I don't exactly know how I can contribute my personal skills to the position, but my interest in it is, I don't know, I play too much. There's a computer game called Sim City,
Oh,
where you
yes.
build little cities.
Yeah.
And I was always fascinated by the literal infrastructure, you know, in the computer representation of it and how all these things connect. You know, like you would build water pipes and water treatment plants, and yeah, I don't know. I don't quite know how to describe it without being too highfalutin about it, but like, yeah, I'm just really quite interested in the kind of industrial progress of, you know, countries and civilizations, and like water is a key function of that. You know, we need water to live, and I'd like to help, you know, in some fashion kind of maintain this accumulated material benefit. And, you know, even at a small scale in Danby. Because I'm on well water, I'm not within the district, so I don't have a direct interest in its upkeep, but
A lot of us in Danby are on well water.
yeah, I figured. So
Including the water district.
There you go.
Yeah.
that's actually a question I should have asked at the meeting, like, where does the water for the water district come from?
A well.
Well of some kind?
A well.
Yeah.
Interesting,
Which,
There's a backup tank on it, how about it? Two sources.
interesting.
How long have you lived in Danby?
Since 2022, so only a few years.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question, Catherine.
Yep.
If you know, please
No,
go
that's,
further.
that, I can see other things I'd rather you be doing and helping us in Danby. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, wow, we could think of lots of things we could have you help with the infrastructure of what's going on for what we hope for our future.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if there's other stuff that the board would think, I'd be happy to talk about this, like,
Mhm.
I find water specifically very interesting. But like, I'm also, there was another gentleman at the meeting, the water district meeting 2 weeks ago, who's like a contractor, worked in the trades, I think. And who I think would probably have more direct help benefit to the water district besides my own just kind of nerdy curiosity.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks for coming.
Yeah, by all means, happy to answer any more questions if people have after the meeting. I'll just stick around because I find this, I've never been to a town board meeting before, so.
Oh,
boy.
Address?
Stick around.
Do we have your email address?
Yeah, it's in the application.
Yeah, it's in the application. Thanks.
Yes.
So Greg's here now. The next step up is, I was approached by the National Fitness Campaign about the possibility of doing a fitness court in the town of Danby. And just to give you a taste of what it's like, there's a video that's just 3 minutes long that I'd like to share as sort of opener.
It's just, if you can allow me to.
Oh, wait a minute, I have the wrong one. You're
So
in,
these guys contacted you?
yes.
Yeah, because they thought we needed we
Well, they're
were
looking-
unfit, is that what?
Well, most of America's unfit, so that wasn't the primary motivator, but let me see, where are you? Good.
Sorry, I closed my laptop and it shut me out of the meeting, so I'm joining back on now.
Okay, accounts for why you aren't seeing it.
See what she's saying.
I'll see it.
Okay.
Here you are, Greg. Let you in. Where did you go? Here it is.
Okay. So can you allow me to share?
This is what's saying, ask to start video. Did that work as a lead in?
No, you have to go to all participants.
Well, I could make you a co-host, that would fix that. There you are.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh,
What we really like
pause
to
it.
do, what we'd really like to do is start it here, if we could.
Yeah, sure, and
We do that.
already, we get this audio all working out well.
I could have played on my computer, that doesn't.
Here,
we really
you know what,
Played on
can you go, can you mute? Yeah, actually, that might be. Yeah, can you mute that larger screen? Yeah, just mute
Well, the
that.
trouble with that is that the Zoom audience won't be able to hear really.
Oh, you're right, you're.
I don't know.
And then how do we do? So don't mute that, yeah.
But I couldn't figure out my either.
Oh, oh boy. You know what? Here's what we can do. I've got an idea, I've got a better idea. We're gonna stop sharing. And we're gonna go to the website.
Where's the beginning of campaign? Actually, national.
Oops, hang on.
Where's my autocorrect?
Yeah,
On my ear.
doesn't work on
National campaign fitness, everyone checked that and it looks like we're good. Okay, so now we're going to watch it and now we can share this screen. Sorry, Joel,
Right.
I'm taking over your hosting duties.
That's no problem.
Okay. Oh, you disabled my sharing.
I do.
You,
might only let one person share it.
Where, you, or this town of Danby.
Yep, allow them to,
Whoops. There's already a co-host, should have, would.
that works?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. All right, now we're in business.
Is there supposed to be any sound with this?
Ted? I can't hear it either.
All right, those on Zoom land, we hear you. Yeah, we can't, let's see. We need to figure out how to, that we can hear, but the folks on Zoom cannot hear.
That's weird, why not?
Can they can give them the link and they can look at it since they're already on
Yeah.
computers.
In Zoom sharing, there is, when you start it, there's an option that involves sound. Include, play sound. But it's in the, I think it's in the sharing screen.
If we can't find that, we could always do mute. so that
I'm
we
already,
can't hear
we
it
were
and
just
then
watching those
and then-
people.
Play it loud enough that it goes in.
I move lots of the books all day. I don't wanna watch this.
No,
Do you move boxes of books all day?
All day. Well,
That's
half the
the
day,
present
okay.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good exercise.
Oh,
Yeah, I used to do
from the
that. I'm a
staircase.
strong man.
We were helping somebody who couldn't bring the books to us. The ceilings were this high and the staircase to the second floor was
Oh my
an
God.
an illegal pitch.
Old house.
Greg, maybe you could turn subtitles on. Maybe that would be sufficient for the purposes of a 3-minute video.
Should
You may be seeing the same thing, but we're getting a frame rate here less than maybe about 1 or 1.5 frames a second. It's not video, it's a series of stills.
Years.
So that's the basic thing. You have to stop sharing in order to do anything else. Couldn't I be able to do that?
Yeah, do it on this one.
So I met with, get her name, a couple times about, that, it looks like something that's only for big cities. The smallest town that has opted into this program is 575 people down in Florida. And there's a couple of upstate New York municipalities that participate in it. They're not big. The closest one to us is probably in Rochester. There's one in Rochester. And there are a couple of other things I'd like to share with you, but I don't know that I can navigate to them. Not sure why not. Because I thought I had them open on my computer.
How much does it cost?
About 200,000. So that was the first question I asked too.
200,000?
Hmm?
Let's go on to the next
Yeah,
topic.
can we please?
Yeah, let's just go on. That's a lot, anyway.
Well, I mean, this is intended
maybe
to be just
You can
a.
Copy it. Maybe we
uh,
can get somebody to build those things.
Right.
I've looked them up.
There is grant money available. The grant money available is 350,000 for the state. Each participating municipality is eligible for about 50,000. It still leaves us $150,000 short. There are other options though for supplementary funding, including the governor's recent initiative for parks and facilities that can help reduce the cost. So this is just, this first pass here, just I said I would run it by the board to see if there was interest in pursuing it further on our part. And I'm not sensing a huge enthusiasm for the idea of doing it. The main attraction for me was that it's for everybody. They did an analysis for us of the suitability of well, where in Danby would you put it? I suggested, well, it's only 38 feet square. It would fit either in the park across the street or on the town hall property on the lawn north of the parking lot here to the right of the solar array. It will fit in that space over there. And they did analysis of the traffic, the pedestrian and bicycle traffic in this area. And I was surprised to find that the analysis shows that we have, let me see if I can go back to, we have quite a bit of traffic on the main highway. So it's actually, it meets their criteria for location as being quite suitable.
Some of that traffic is going through.
Bicycle and
Like from
pedestrian,
here, like here. It wasn't just bicycle, they said other stuff.
bicycle and pedestrian. So I could not the driving traffic, but the bicycle and pedestrian traffic. That's what was a little surprising to me. I mean, keep people telling me how much they feel how unsafe it is to walk or bike on the main highway, but the data indicate that quite a few people do it anyway. So anyway, a lot safer than 3496.
Yeah, I don't know, I haven't heard anybody saying that they would like something like that.
I don't know about.
But, if it could be, we've talked about, if and when a skate park happens, having also something else there, not, I don't think anybody had envisioned that sort of a setup.
Yeah,
But I
got it.
don't know, I'm not,
That's the,
I'm,
that's the
I'm,
analysis.
I'm sort of not interested.
It seems pretty analogous to like a jungle gym that wouldn't get a lot of activity from kids and maybe like I've come across things like that. Like, you know, we've seen stuff where like maybe you break that out into chunks and it's on like a walking trail.
Oh,
We've
yeah,
all seen
like
stuff
a
like
Cass
that.
Park, they've
Yeah,
got
like a
that,
Cass
that's kind of
Park.
cool, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I've never like been walking and come across one of those and been like, I wish this wasn't here.
Yeah,
But it's also, you know, I mean,
it's like,
how
oh,
much do you want to pay for it?
Right. This is
Yeah.
the traffic analysis that they did, pedestrian and bicycle.
I found it pretty cheap to just buy the weights that the book I read told me to use.
Well, you know, it
Well, I
seems
know.
like there was a lot of salesmanship involved in that, and I
Yes.
usually think that that's masking over like that you could
Everybody-
probably do
Who's
this
gonna
yourself,
clean it?
but ours
Who's
is so
gonna-
nice. You know, you
I'm
want
not-
ours because it's so shiny.
Yeah, it's not a for-profit group though. I mean, this is a nonprofit that's
Joel,
doing this.
I've tried not to say anything publicly about how strongly I think negative about this, but I am gonna say a lot of things are wrong with that. We don't have the weather for it. In the winter, we could have freezing and ice in it. In the summer, it could be blazing hot. There's noisy traffic going
flooded.
by.
Flooded.
It could be flooded, right?
Yeah,
I think it's ugly. It would detract terribly from this building.
The one at Cass Park isn't ugly. This one is ugly.
It's ugly,
You think it's
yeah.
ugly?
It's
Well, the ones cheapy,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
Cheesy,
not
that's good.
impressed. And the other thing is, it looks like a shiny object that you think, oh boy, and then you go like 3 times, like. The only thing I see about this that's good is there's no membership required.
Yeah.
But I
An
already
outdoor
know,
gym, basically.
but everybody, the salesmanship, everybody in there looked perfect,
Yeah,
et cetera, et cetera. It's,
very from the
And-
marketing department.
yeah, and
And
how
very
many of
young.
us want to go and,
Yeah, aren't you
I don't wanna
aren't you many
exercise
seniors
out in
on
front of.
50?
Done.
Yeah,
I thought you nailed exactly what I was thinking when you said, what did you say? Like shiny object, everyone would be like really excited to come check it out. And like, everyone would do the 7 minutes on the 7 things and say,
Done. Yeah.
I've done it now.
And it's a lot of
I
money
imagine
that,
I would do exactly that.
I mean, I can't even make myself stay in a gym membership. I know some people do that. But the other thing is, it being in exercising out there in front of truck traffic that's going by, and then maybe doing Tai Chi that's supposed to be calm and quiet and zoom, zoom, zoom on the road. And I bet you a lot of those cyclists that are in that study are commuters. And they are on their way to work and then they're on their way home. I'm not in favor of it.
Neither am I.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, I think it's horrible, but I think that if there ever could be something along those lines, like in Cass Park, I mean, I've been
Yeah.
to tons of parks
Yeah,
that
Cass
just have
Park
like
was-
simple
yeah,
fabricated steel and wood workout equipment that's durable in the weather, easy to upkeep. It would probably cost just a wee percentage of that.
Yeah.
It would be good to keep in mind
Mhm.
in the future. It would look more congruous with
Something like that.
something like that, with other things like nature, as opposed to that
Right,
just looks like LA.
Yeah.
that's a good
It
point.
sounds like we've got a lot of the same opinions about it. I think
Yeah.
something like it is, you know, sounds kind of nice if it was at the right time in the right place, you know, but you know, I don't know, this didn't seem right for me. And I imagine if we had a sidewalk and we had people, you know, coming up and down the street to a place, if there was a little spot you could exercise off to the side that was really cheap for us to produce and felt right for our community, I bet people would use it, but you know, we might be a little early to do it.
That was
But
kind of
maybe
the
if it was
feeling
more
about
like a miniature golf thing where you went around to different stations or something.
Well, I think they were
Just-
trying to sell it as stations.
Yeah, there's
I don't
Kevin.
Yeah.
Well,
Did you
they-
see the
what
people
they-
standing around watching?
Dancing.
Would you want to do that? I mean,
Yeah, there's
exercise in
actually-
front of all those people?
There's actually two components to it.
Yeah.
There's the basic fitness court.
Right.
And then
and then
last, did they added on basically.
Flat thing, yeah.
A platform for dancing and whatnot.
Right,
Which probably wouldn't work here anyway, because there's not that much space there, but
Yeah.
it's a basic fitness court.
It's also too noisy. Everything we've tried
Or
to do,
fitness court? Not
if
really.
dancing, You said dance.
Yeah, but that's the part
dance.
that you wouldn't do anyway. I mean, that's a whole nother section where they've added that, basically dance floor thing to it, which
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense for that location.
Yeah.
Right.
But the fitness court part does, if there were interest, and it sounds to me like there's really not enough interest.
Not right now.
Yeah.
The only thing I think.
That was kind of my reaction, was that it's kind of forward-looking,
Yeah.
Put
Not
it in
new.
in a short thing in your newsletter article that says, if you'd really be interested, here's the website, go look at it. If you think this would be wonderful, let us know.
That's a good idea.
I'd be really interested to see how many people contact us and say, I like that idea, but we should do our own one and I don't want theirs. And
Right.
I mean, that seems like
I
a really
think
natural
yeah,
reaction
it
to
is.
what I just saw. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like being sold to.
Yeah.
Even if it is a nonprofit pushing
Yeah.
fitness.
That doesn't matter.
I just recognize that as like a fictional
Yeah.
representation of something that they want to make look so much better than it probably is. And it just, I don't know. It
So
made me
maybe
not
we
want
could
it.
bring it up some other time.
Yeah.
Pacific, did you have a
Next
comment?
year, huh?
Pacific, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to add
we can't
that
hear
where
her.
I'm from,
Yeah, why can't we hear you?
you can't hear me?
Like, I can hear her coming from the other room.
The audio's on.
I can hear her.
Yeah, I can hear it coming from down the hallway.
Oh, interesting.
Huh.
Hang on 1 second. Hang on. I did that.
Did you?
Everybody. Yeah, I did. When I was messing with the.
The audio's on.
Yeah, it is. Right now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Jennings.
Okay.
Pond.
That'd be so Jennings Pond makes more sense.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that where I'm from, we have a lot of hills and we have a lot of those types of structures where you kind of walk, like maybe 500 yards between different stations. And they are all in nature. And I think that adds a lot to the appeal of like wanting to walk along this path and also use it. And I have used them before and they're fun to, play around on, both for like people my age. I think they're also really beneficial to seniors, who can get kind of light exercise alongside their walk. And I also think children have fun on them too. But I was thinking that maybe at Dotson Park, kind of along the Frisbee golf course, might be kind of a fitting place for that kind of thing. But I also think the pond would be great too. Thanks.
A fitting place for fitness, eh? Okay.
Let's go on.
Yeah.
Okay,
next.
we do have other things to do. The feedback is not here, not now,
Correct.
but we will ask,
Thanks for the movie, though.
we will ask, I think Catherine's suggestions were, just in case, we put a little blurb in the newsletter, say,
Nah, maybe next year.
Right, not now. That-
Yeah, not now.
should forget about it altogether.
Yes, forget about
Okay.
it.
Meeting minutes.
I move that we approve
We're at-
the May 19th meeting minutes as written.
But we did the supervisory report comes first.
Where?
I don't see it.
6.5.
I don't have it on
I
mine.
don't either.
Not that's true, but I don't remember seeing it.
I saw the general fund, the highway fund,
Oh, it's on this.
and they were fine. I did not see the water fund. I didn't think there was one.
There was
There,
one.
there is, yeah.
This is shared by Laura.
Oh, wait, are we going back? We're going back
No,
now?
we're going to
No,
6.5.
no, we're gone, 6.5.
Oh, okay, it's on a different,
Oh, the funds.
the different,
Yeah.
We're not
It
sure
got
what's down,
changed.
there should have been
About
up
the
report.
third.
Well,
Yeah,
It is reports.
It is
This is the
reports.
6.5 is reports.
Yeah. Was
Or
there,
is
was
it
there
later
later
in
the
the
water?
not on the list that I got this morning.
Right.
Right. And these are count analyses, right?
Hmm?
Yes, correct.
Oh,
Were
I'm
there-
sorry. I thought I put the water one on there.
You did.
I have all three.
You did.
I have,
Okay,
yes.
I didn't see it.
Oh,
I
good,
saw.
good. Okay.
Okay.
No budget transfers are needed to approve the abstract.
Good, thanks. Minutes.
I
I,
move that we approve the May 19th meeting minutes as written.
I would second that. As revised anyway.
Are those the ones that Ted mentioned?
No,
No,
it's a previous, it's not last minute.
Shouldn't go back and change the minutes. What he said today, can be put in today's minutes as far as I'm concerned, so.
Yeah, but it wasn't about May 19th anyway, about June
I
2nd.
can't understand.
It
was
wasn't
June
about the
2nd, wasn't
minutes.
it?
Yeah.
Yes,
His comment.
yes, it was. Yeah,
Yeah, the motion was for May 19th.
Right.
It's moved and seconded and
Who seconded
It goes, you did.
it? I
Yeah.
did. Oh, I was thinking of making the motion, but then let me beat me to it. Anyway, ready?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, right.
Connors,
Yep.
Hunter,
yes,
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Canyon.
Yes.
Thank you.
welcome. I move that we approve the June 2nd meeting minutes as written.
Second.
I propose it has a couple, I mean, I made some suggestions, I'm not sure, and they were very late in the day, so I'm not sure everybody had a chance to look at them. But the one thing that I noticed that isn't there, that should be there, is the list of which roads we said we were going to submit.
Oh, that wasn't in there?
It talked about this list, but it doesn't, the list isn't
Oh, the
in the
list that
minutes.
doesn't name the minute.
Right.
Okay,
And I think
so,
it should, for the record, I think it ought to be in there.
yeah,
Yes, correct.
wow, I missed that.
How'd you miss that? So, with that addition and a whole bunch of minor changes that I submitted, as I say, rather late, I'm not sure Cindy had a chance to. Cindy took those minutes, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, all your little corrections there, Joel, were accepted. But I didn't know about the the list of roads to be submitted.
Right, and I would have spoken to you about it, but I didn't call soon enough to catch you in the office.
okay, so it's not in there yet?
It's not in there yet, but we could put it in we put in our approval, with the addition of the list.
why don't we do
Okay.
that? Do that.
Okay,
Um,
Did you make the motion?
so she need the,
Are
so
you-
we need to amend the
The motion.
motion to, we approve the June 2nd meeting minutes with the addition of the roads that we're going to submit for speed reduction
Yeah,
in item 9.6.
and you well, not in today's minutes, I mean, not today's, well, minutes of today's meeting would include that suggested that his comments be elaborated on in the beginning. Privilege of the floor, where he talking about wastewater, not specifically about sewers, but
I believe that was for June 2nd.
Right,
that's what we're talking about.
yeah,
Okay, I thought we were talking about May 19th.
no,
No, June
No,
2nd.
I got you. I'm following. I'm tracking. Thank you.
you're welcome.
I don't remember what Cindy originally wrote, and I think I changed it to sewers.
Aha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever.
so I do take pretty much verbatim what people say during privilege of the floor. If you make changes to that, you're changing what someone says. So I would just
Mhm.
leave privilege of the floor alone in the minutes because that's pretty verbatim.
Well, the trouble is, well, you didn't take those minutes, Cindy did, and she did unlike you, she did a summary of what people said rather than doing a transcript
Right.
of
Gotcha.
the privilege of the floor.
So,
Which I thought the transcript, I mean, I thought the summary was fairly apt.
right,
Ted is quibbling over the details of what he said, and I don't know that we need to necessarily
I think
accommodate that.
it can be noted in today's meeting minutes,
Yeah,
in the privilege of
right.
the floor, it'll be noted that he wanted, he felt like that's,
Should be elaborated. or-
so I
But
think
he
that
also
that's
said
enough.
he wasn't sure, that was the words he used, so that's why we don't want to change the minutes, we would just want to put what he said in now. In this.
What
Yeah.
they're saying is that Cindy didn't do the verbatim.
She
So
didn't
what I'm
say-
saying is, what he said today was he wasn't sure what word he
Right, I
used
know.
exactly.
I know.
So we
Yeah,
should
just leave
change
it,
it
and
that,
it'll come out in the privilege of the floor meeting minute,
For
in
today.
today's
For this meeting,
minutes.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So let's just.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so the one change we're suggesting to what
Add the-
was.
The
what
speeds.
approved
the
by-
list.
By
Yes.
Cindy, is to add the list of speed,
Yeah.
roads for which we request speed
Right.
limit reduction,
Right,
okay? So, right,
Connors,
yes,
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes,
Excellent.
okay.
Do you need the list of roads? Do you need?
No, I'll go back to those.
Okay.
those. I mean, unless you
Okay.
have it, you can give it to me later.
Okay,
I think we had it linked to the.
you probably
the
took it
agenda.
out of my
I can
bag.
go back to the recording.
Okay,
Okay, yeah, sure.
General fund.
I move the general fund vouchers to 23. No,
Yes.
yeah,
233.
233,
256.
to 256. 232 is void,
Is it?
Yes.
and that should be in there so that we don't get messed up. For $18,148.43.
Second.
Any additions?
There were a couple things that got put.
Got back and forth,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Right,
Connors,
Yep,
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
yes,
Gagnon.
yes,
Very good.
I move the highway fund, vouchers 109 to 120 for $29,497.61.
Second.
any discussion? Okay,
Connors,
Yep,
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
yes,
Gagnon.
yes,
Excellent.
I move the West Danby Water District vouchers 61 through 68 for $1,516.75.
68 is, I
68 or 67. The minutes have 67.
mean, that's the agenda.
Let me read it.
My abstract says
The
70.
abstract has 68, yeah.
Okay.
What's
The
the
abstract
problem?
always right.
So it was 68, not 7.
Should be
Yeah.
68.
Okay.
68.
Mm-hmm. Which is what you said.
This is what you said.
That's what you said.
And was it seconded?
Second,
Wait a minute. So how much, what it,
the amount
total
was the
is
same.
what?
The amount was what's on there.
15, 16, 75.
75.
Yes.
No, I just don't understand what just happened. So
The
I had
the agenda was wrong.
67 on the
I'm
agenda.
not looking at the agenda.
Yeah, that's why everyone else was confused, because on the
Oh.
agenda. it's
The agenda was
67.
wrong.
Oh. I'm looking at my
My bad.
sheets.
Well, your sheet was correct.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, right.
Connors,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yeah,
Excellent.
And now, since we just did that water district, there was, when we had the candidates, we did not recognize, Merrill has some papers to discuss and hand to us regarding the availability of positions that this hasn't been public.
well,
Oh, we messed up.
I don't,
I
what
will.
is this about?
Did you all get all three of the applications?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You all have them, okay, I
Yes.
wasn't sure, I
Yeah.
asked. Did you also get the email from the chairman of the water board?
yes, today.
Thank
Oh, you
you.
did get it? Oh, I
It was
didn't
late
see it.
today.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay,
Okay, I started this process on Friday and I couldn't get in when they answered me, so it didn't
Never.
actually happen.
This is 9.2 in the agenda. Why are we jumping?
Oh, sorry.
past
it is.
9.1?
Where's the,
Oh, yeah,
oh,
it's the next thing on the.
Okay, I can wait,
Yeah.
that's totally fine.
Okay, sorry.
Mhm.
Just didn't want to.
Oh, 9.2.
Because the
Mhm.
agenda,
Right, right.
I have a different.
But 9.1 is, I could have put it first amount if I'd known, but I didn't.
It's fine.
we could have switched.
Consider adding paid family leave. That information was shared with from Laura earlier today. And it's something that we've talked about, but we haven't seriously entertained.
Is there a request from staff for this or
Yes.
just mixing it up?
There is.
Okay. But it's not from the highway because it clearly says here the highway
Right.
is not supporting.
Keith doesn't want it because he can't afford to lose anybody for, and, you know, you never know when you're gonna, particularly in his, doesn't matter what time of the year, then he needs his crew to be available to him when he schedules something, and he can't afford to have somebody gone for any period of time.
That sounds like a circumstance that many employers are in.
This is true, which is why it's hard for a small employer to participate in something like this. It would be a major commitment on our part to do it, even though, well, it doesn't cost us anything, except that we probably have to, if you have a large enough organization, you can have people sort of take up the slack for
Yeah.
somebody not being there, but if you're a small organization, they're probably filling a critical role, and you have to do something to
Right.
fill it when they're gone.
So that would be the cost.
That's the cost essentially, because the cost of
It's insurance.
it's insurance, that's right. And the employee pays for it to cover them for when they're gone. Well, and they get 67% of their salary when they're away.
Right.
And they can supplement that with any other time that they have coming to them. And if they got vacation time or sick leave, it can be applied towards, you know, trying to make up the difference or the shortfall in their salary for the period that they're away. But the insurance covers 67%. And I had a question about whether it can be, whether we could specify something less than 12 weeks, and Laura was looking into that. And what did you find?
What I found is, I tried to, I looked all over the place, and it says that if you, an employee who's part of the paid family leave would be entitled to the 12 weeks. But that can be split up. It can be split up.
Doesn't have to be continuous.
So it doesn't have to be continuous, right? That's a good way to explain it. So it could be, 4 weeks at one point, 4 weeks at another point, or whatever, however you want it. But it doesn't say anything. It doesn't mean that it's not there. It just means I haven't found it. Okay. That it's anything less than 12 weeks. I haven't found that.
Okay.
So
it's
Joe
up
was
to,
thinking maybe you could set a cap on it, like say 8 weeks or.
that's what I was wondering. So, I
And
mean,
I haven't found
it's up to 12 weeks, which means it doesn't have to be 12 weeks if an employee doesn't want to be away for 12 weeks. But it means that it's up to 12 weeks if they do.
Yeah, I recently used the program for the birth of both of my, my twins and my first son. Yeah, you do have the option of, in a private business, you would have the option of taking like every Friday off for a very long time. You have to get it all used within 1 year of when you start. So I don't think there would be enough Fridays in 1 year to do 12 weeks.
Yeah.
But you could, take 1 or 2 days off for a long period of time, or you could take, several days of work 2 or 3 day weeks for a long time. I know at my workplace, lots of people have used the program, and they all do it different ways. And I guess I should point out that lots of people at my workplace feel critical, but we always find a way to compensate them fairly and also get by without them for 12 weeks.
Yeah, and that's a good, that trust comes a good example of an organization big enough that people can sort of share the load and get by for a while.
Well, I'm the only person in my role at the company.
They managed without,
They did twice.
I don't think we would can be in a position to do without, Steve or Greg or the town clerk for 12 weeks.
That's right.
We'd have to make some arrangements to have some coverage in their absence.
That's right.
Unless, it was taking a day a week off or a couple of days a week rather than a stretch of time. And Greg and I spoke about this. And he's the one who will be the primary beneficiary if we opt in. John Samansky, you may recall, helped us out when we had a gap between planners. Is interested and willing in providing coverage if we wanted to do it. This year to give Greg coverage while his wife gives birth, and then subsequently.
Well, I mean, my feeling is that if every other first world country can do it, why can't America? And we have somebody in this room with us who would be the beneficiary of this very basic, fundamental right of all other people outside this country. I would say that I strongly feel that we should find a way to make sure we offer this to everyone who wants it. I saw what Keith said, and I do have a lot of questions about his rationale, and I do wonder what his workers are unionized. Is that right?
Yeah, they are, and we have
What
a
is-
contract with them.
What is the union put there in?
CSEA.
CSEA.
We,
So do they have like an analogous plan that they get? That is
we
similar
checked,
to-
we checked it out. Laura spoke with the union rep. They're okay with this. Other highway departments are in, other towns that participate have the same exemption for the public works or highway folks. Because of the critical, importance to the mission of the highway department. And the union's okay with it because they understand that.
Yeah,
They're also, and they're, and it's not the case for most benefits. Most, if you offer benefits to your non-union employees, the union usually looks to have their union members covered as
Right,
well.
right.
So the fact that they're okay with this one does
Yeah.
speak to the issue.
And for them, it would be more appropriate to go through union contracts, that negotiation, than to just sit and say, we decide this for you.
yeah, I definitely agree with the idea that if they've got their union already negotiating something analogous to this,
No, no.
but if they're being pressured into not accepting benefit, I think that's a classic workplace. That's people in workplaces are often asked to accept less than what they should have, and they often nod and say, yes, sir, that sounds great, because they, it's coercion. They would
They
like
know
to keep
they
their
know what
jobs. They don't
side
want to lose it.
Which side the bread is buttered on.
Right, yeah, they know what side the bread is buttered on. They don't want to upset the person who signs their paycheck. So a lot of people often accept, less than what they want. But with the union, I do understand, that makes sense that they're probably negotiating their own thing there. I do think that it is a really common excuse to not compensate workers what their value should be, to say, well, I can't afford that. And I always have the same reaction to say, if you can't afford to pay a worker the appropriate amount, then you can't afford that worker and you can't afford to do that work. And I feel like if we are going to tell ourselves that we can't afford to pay some people, for instance, what New York State thinks that the people of New York State all deserve, and what every other country thinks that they deserve, which would be 12 weeks of time with their young newborn kids, or with the last moments with their parents, things like that. I would say, it's not a good enough answer to me to say, well, we just can't afford it, because I feel like that's kind of a casual way of saying we will pay you less than what you are entitled to do the work.
I wouldn't put it that way, but I think that we, as a public employer, are in a better position to accommodate this kind of benefit than some small private employers would be. And I think that we have, I think we have a responsibility to add this coverage myself.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what I think too.
And you
Laura?
when you say with the responsibility to add this coverage, are you including the highway in on that, Joel?
No.
Yes.
No.
I can
No.
say the other thing that's been negotiated through the union contract too is a really good plan for compensatory time. So the guys can accumulate a lot of comp time. So if they have something, like if they're gonna have a child or something like that, they can really plan that out, and that's allowed the buildup of that comp time, at least within 1 year. So.
That sounds a bit of an analogous type of program.
You know,
Solve
it's just,
problem.
I'm just saying that that's what's in there. And from what I've heard from Keith at this point, that would be the 3-month thing. I'm just repeating for him that having that 12-week thing was not something that he was entertaining in his mind because of, we're an emergency department. Emergencies are, say it's in the middle of the winter and we've got, some bad snowstorms. I'm just telling you what his thought process was there. I'm just being the messenger to you.
And I think in this case, because it's unionized, any of those, anything like that should go through the union negotiation. We should not be sitting here deciding any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not averse to occasionally, adding something that they didn't ask for, but I don't think that this is an appropriate one to add. I think because the union's okay with it.
I actually, I think what Pat's saying is correct. Let them do this in the union.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I am gonna say that I think we have the same problem for the youth. There's no extra money to have a floater type person. But I do know that private snowplow people they work in government. When there's an emergency, they get hired. So there are potentials for getting assistance
Temporary.
in temporary employment.
Mhm.
Because I don't think it's fair to say that somebody in here can have 3 months off with their baby, but our highway people who are exceedingly valuable can't. But as Pat suggested, it's a union thing, but I think that it's our responsibility to say that we do value our highway people.
But I think Laura also made the comment that there's an alternative option that
I know,
we're
but-
not talking about for non-union employees, and they already have.
I know compensatory time doesn't do it for me, but that's okay. I've heard it.
The other thing with that, I hear what you're saying, Catherine. There's when you have situations where you're going to bring other people in, like you said, private people from the outside. There's so many training things that have to be put into place to have another person that would walk in like that. First of all, they have to have CDL licenses, trained on our big snowplows, our huge snowplows, go through all the training for mine safety, I mean, a whole bunch of things, and also be trained on our trucks, and have, be able to operate them properly, for whatever type of equipment we have. So
I totally understand that, but if somebody breaks their leg and can't work, does that mean they lose their job because they can't work for 12 weeks? So you see what I'm saying is.
I know,
What do
I
we-
understand. I understand. Yes.
We had to figure out something because we don't want that people to lose their jobs and,
I mean, there are people that we can, and we should do that also for emergency management. Have
right.
MOUs with them. For instance, maybe some of our retired men who are used to our equipment and having
Keith
an
used to.
MOU that if we
Yeah.
had a blizzard and somebody couldn't work, that they could do that. So yes, you're right. There are other ways to go about it.
I know in the case of like doing PFL for a new child, you generally know that you're going to have a new child pretty far in advance. So there could be
Yeah, right.
a lot of
Yeah.
planning ahead if we're that case.
Yeah, as opposed to an emergency situation, which
yeah,
doesn't
but
happen.
that's only having children. The
Yeah,
death of a
that's-
parent, there are lots of other things.
Well,
So
right, that's what I'm just
no,
saying.
but let's not stay on that.
Yeah,
it's a
I
big
think
one.
we all agree.
It's a big one, but it's not the only one. Somebody
Right.
could suddenly become terminally ill,
Or get ALS and,
Yeah,
yeah, and you don't know when these things are gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we like beating a dead
Beat
horse
that,
here.
yeah.
Right,
I think
so
we all agree.
with,
Yeah.
I think we do. So, I mean, I move that we add paid family leave effective immediately
For non-union workers.
to non-union workers.
Is anyone else in union other than the highway?
No,
No.
And how many people would that be? It's just the full-time workers, right?
yeah,
Well, there's usually a minimum number of hours attached to it.
20
like-
hours, 20 hours a week for 26 weeks. If somebody has worked That's, I believe
It
that's
has to be
what, 20
with-
hours a week or for the 26, they would be eligible for paid family leave.
That sounds
Okay,
great.
so that includes some of our part-time.
Right,
Yeah,
that's good.
Who?
Got-
Do we have anybody who's not, who falls into that as not full-time?
Falls into what?
More than 20, but less than full-time?
And we'd have like our
Yes.
deputy town clerk.
Yes.
Yes, we have-
Cindy, Blake, Julia.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They're all less than, they're all more than half or less than full?
They probably don't average 20. I think Julia averages, I want to say 18, but
Yeah.
she. 18.
Yeah, but Blake, well.
He
yeah.
averages about, 15 maybe.
Anyway, if anybody does, they're eligible. So, for, as described in the insurance, which is what you're saying, Laura, that it covers anybody who works 20 hours a week or more.
20 hours a week and has been employed at least 26.
6 weeks, half a year.
Yes.
Okay. So was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Okay, I think we're ready.
Connors,
Yes,
Hunter,
yes,
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay.
I say a quick thank you.
yep,
No, really, I just want to say thank you. Because, at my last employer, Cuba County had 300 people, union. They exempted out of paid family medical leave. And so when I welcomed, the birth of my daughter, I had to take unpaid family leave for that. My mother was dying at the time. And then, so she died 2 months after my daughter was born. And I had to take another unpaid month off. I had to wipe out my savings.
yeah,
Not to mention just of the birth of a child. My wife had complications with that birth. It just dealing with the emotions of my mother passing away at 67. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I feel really supported. Yeah, I won't take 12 weeks. But
Take what you need.
thank you.
Take what you need.
3 days a week and
Take care of yourself.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Meryl,
Yes, sir.
if you'd like to address the board.
Well, I just need to fill y'all in. So when we asked the board to please post that we needed one more board member, we needed a replacement for Peter, we never dreamed that we would get 3. And if you look at if you look in the experience on Lenny Dodge's,
Lenny.
and then you look at Todd's, and this is no disrespect, sir, at all.
No, absolutely, I totally understand.
This last water main break taught us that there are a lot of things we still don't know from Todd, and if he's willing to come back, we kind of
yes.
need this to learn from him. And then when you read Mr. Dodge, project engineer for Regal Beloit, 20 years. And 2 of the projects he was on was the head engineer on the Florida flood control rebuild and Burlington, Vermont's water district improvements. We're looking at our system aging out and we're trying to figure out how we're gonna do this. We feel that we would be crazy not to take him. So I have a letter of resignation from Marge to step down from the board. It was a temporary position anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
She says that she agreed to be an interim appointment and now she is willing to step down if Todd wants to come back. And I have a letter of resignation from me for the board only. I will still be district clerk, secretary, billing, whatever you throw at me. But I feel that if I stepped off the board and we let Mr. Dodge come on because of his experience, It would really be helpful going down the road of what we're headed for. And if both of them want to serve, Martin and I are willing to step off because we'd be crazy not to keep those two. And I don't know who needs to have this, but there's our letters that we will step away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that those two people could be, because of what we're headed for, we need the experience over anything else. Because we don't know how we're gonna do this,
Right.
if the whole system needs replaced.
Yeah.
So that you guys didn't know that I was willing to step off and Martin was willing, both effective today. So that you all, if the path is clear for you to appoint two.
Great.
Because we just, like I said, we're crazy if we don't take those two back.
Thank you.
So that's all you needed to know. And does that need to go to Mariah?
That's probably a good place to go. The decision we need to make is who's gonna be appointed to which position, because they've got different times to run.
Right, well, what I heard was a suggestion that Todd take over Marge's
Yes.
We
spot
could do it
and
that way.
Lenny take, I mean, that's what I heard. Do you need an intern?
No,
Of course, but
I mean.
the board discussed that we're gonna stay with 5. I
Uh-huh.
still have to be there every month, so we end up being 8.
Right.
Because the water, the
Mhm.
head operator, assistant operator, me,
Right,
and then the 5 board members. So, and we discuss everything openly, so I'm not losing anything.
yeah,
But we're gaining, if you would consider Mr. Dodge, we're gaining that background. That unfortunately with what we're dealing with, we're gonna need.
Yeah.
so I move that we appoint Pastor Contract to serve out the balance of it was Peter McDonald's term,
Marge's turn.
and I guess you call
Yeah,
it Marty's
Peter.
term. And Leonard Dodge to serve the balance of Merrill's term.
I'll second that.
Any discussions?
Any
I
questions?
wanna thank the applicant
Yes.
Yes.
who expressed
go away.
interest. And I
Yeah,
hope
Matt,
that
we'll
you
figure out
stay
something else.
interested, because things change.
Yeah, well, if you guys would have picked me based on all that information, I don't know, I would probably have to resign immediately. The big meetings.
Yeah, we'll figure out something else for you to do.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's plenty of other areas.
aren't there openings on the CAC?
How are you with concrete?
So we can
Okay.
vote.
All right,
So-
Thank you,
ready?
Meryl. Thank you,
Mariah.
and thank you for your willingness to step down. Do we have to, wait, how do you get to be secretary? Do we, I mean,
I already
how do you
have.
get
She
to
already
fill
been
it?
elected.
But it's separate from the
Separate from
position.
the-
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in the board.
I just
No, I- yeah.
wanted to make sure that,
I already am all of that other
yeah,
stuff.
good. Yep, for life.
Yeah,
You're right.
I was told that. It's okay.
A judgeship.
And I don't know if you need to approve these resignations. Or if you can just take, I don't know.
No, we
what you
just
guys do.
accept. Yeah.
It'll be in the minutes
Yeah.
that
Okay.
we got 2 resignations today.
Yeah.
Okay,
Prior to appointment.
Very good. Okay, Connors,
yes,
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes,
Very good.
all right.
Meryl, is your building almost done?
Almost, but we keep, like, I'm missing fire training, we have things coming up that we're working on, we got these floor next, windows and lights.
I'll be there.
Get rid of a desk, I need to get rid of a desk, I need a room.
The next item is related, actually.
What's that?
The next item is water district related. In conjunction with exploring the needs of the district in terms of, assessing the condition and longevity of the plant and equipment. The RCAP, which I forget what, I think it's Rural Community Assistance Program.
Something like that, yeah, service, yeah,
They have a community, they provide a service, but no cost to the town. We used them when we did the study of the water rates.
right,
And they were very helpful, and also developing, the district, policies for standard operating
Right.
procedures. They were, Candace Baumer was very helpful.
So they're gonna do
For
this.
that
for free?
for that project, Todd's the contract was the primary contact with RCAP. The agreement that we would be approving, where they proposed, the district had proposed that we have this agreement with RCAP to provide this additional or up service to help us assess the system and what needs to happen. to
Right.
it. They request that we also name a primary contact. I asked the candidate, the people you would normally turn to for that designation a week ago Friday, who among them wanted to take it on, because it could reasonably be Scott Went
Yeah,
as chief operator. It could also be Ben Coakley, because he's the one who's been reaching out to RCAP in the first place.
right.
I haven't heard back from Scott. Merrill sent a note this afternoon suggesting that it be Scott, because Todd did it last time and he was chief operator at the time in that position. I also contacted
Who did it
Ben.
last time? Todd?
Todd's a contract, yeah. What?
Yes, chief operator.
He was chief operator at the time.
Right.
So it would make sense for Scott Went to do it this time as chief operator, but it's also true that Ben Coakley is the one who approached RCAP this time. And would also be a logical primary contact as well. So I didn't hear back from any of them. I expected them to talk to each other and decide who's gonna do it.
Right.
That didn't happen. So Ben got back to me this afternoon after I'd done them through 3 times and said he's willing to do it.
Who said that?
Ben.
Okay.
But I haven't heard from Scott. I tried to contact him and didn't get anything. So, we've had Merrill saying, well, it could be Scott, and we've got Ben saying, well, it could be Ben. And it's like, well, who's it gonna be? So I mean, instead of designating it, maybe we, the board, can say either Scott or Ben, depending on who they decide between them wants to be the primary. So that we can just get this out the door, as it were. Unless you want to pick one, but I mean, I don't see where we have good basis for deciding who it should be.
Well, Ben got back to you.
He did, and my guess is that Scott's going to say, let Ben do it, but I don't want to guess that and have him feel like it really ought to be me, because I mean, it makes sense for him to be it. But not if he'd rather let Ben do it. So, and Ben's willing.
Well, I agree. Can we designate and let them make that decision?
I think it's better we let them make that decision.
Yeah, I think
They know
that's what I propose anyway.
we are not part of the water district. They know what's going on.
So
Well, one person got back to us. This is asking that a representative be designated.
Yeah.
Or we just wait till next month.
Well, not if we do,
Right,
what
we
they
just do-
say, we appoint one or the other of them when they decide.
Yeah,
Right,
let them,
they can choose. We don't have to,
Okay.
we don't have to force it.
we won't have to go back again.
Because Ben only said yes after Joel called him again, because nobody stepped up at first.
So I move that we approve the agreement with RCAP and that we designate either Ben or Scott, depending on who they, between them, decide ought to be the primary contact.
Right. Second.
Any
Any
discussion?
further discussion?
Leslie?
I
anything?
just, if Scott were interested, I would have thought he would have gotten back.
Well, I would have thought.
None of them did.
Neither of them
Ben
did.
didn't get it.
No, he didn't
Get back either. None of them did.
None of them did.
Yeah. And Joel had to.
Maybe it should be
ask, too.
Todd.
Yes, well, that's a possibility too. Hadn't been entertained because Scott wasn't,
I don't
You
know.
know,
I feel like
there.
we're not doing, they're asking. but-
and I don't know, Todd would have to be asked whether he'd want to too. That's another question. Maybe they come back and say, I don't want, what it was once, Todd, let Todd do it then.
We are
But
gonna designate, but when they say which one,
Right, but essentially we're
They- we're
designating
saying-
one or the other, depending, and they get to choose which
They
one.
get to choose, we don't choose.
Right, we're not doing this agreement.
We are doing the
Yeah,
agreement.
we are doing the agreement.
That's part one is approve.
Take the vote, all right?
Yeah,
I.
if the vote is to approve the agreement and designate whichever the two they decide, Dwayne wants to be the primary. So, okay.
Yeah.
Mariah,
Connors,
Abstain.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon,
yes,
very good.
all right, we have Jim Holohan with us this evening. We went out to bid, you recall, for proposals for installing the heat pumps as part of our
Grant.
grant allocation of $60,000. And we have one good response. And it's a system that Jim spoke at some length with them about and tweaked and so that
Yeah.
and he has, of course, the credentials to do that. He thinks what is now being proposed is an excellent system. And I'll let Jim speak further. Hey there, Jim.
Oh, sorry, I was working out. You know, that video inspired me to just get in shape. So I'm busy. Yeah. So just a little background there. There's a question earlier, but the RFP refers to the $60,000 grant we received. It's a NYSERDA grant we got through Clean Energy Communities. We also received a no-cost energy audit to us, and they went through and they looked at what we needed in the building, and there wasn't a lot, but we could use heat pumps because the $60,000 had to be used for some recommendations that they did from the energy audit. So one of the things we decided we would look at was the heat pumps for the building. So we put out an RFP for it. We got one proposal back. We had a couple of people interested, a couple different companies interested. The first round, where we just asked for some ideas on pricing and people interested, but we put the RFP out and we got one proposal in from Simply Installs. And they came to the building. I spent some time with them and told them what our needs were there and how the building was used. It'd been the third time that Simply Installs had been to the building. And I think came up with a really good proposal. And there's some, it was, yeah, it was, as Joel said, it was tweaked from the first time it came through. Some equipment I like better. Also a way to utilize systems in the big room better. That would be not just the overhead heat. So, and this would be for replacing the 3 furnaces that are in the mechanical room now, which the one is for the big room and one's for the the offices, and one goes over to the judge's area. So we'd be replacing those, and so that would be eliminating all the natural gas from those, and replacing with electric heat pumps. And they're hyperheat, so they go down at down to 5 degrees. It still perform at 100%, so they say. And there would be electric backup in case the heat pump would went out. I know Pat was mentioned she'd be interested to make sure there was electric backup for it. So because it came up and it was one of the questions last time. So with the electric backup, and this would be, and I didn't want it kicking in when it got down to lower temperatures. So it would be actually have to be a physical changeover. So wouldn't just automatically kick on, but so it would just kick on to electric. And the system, the proposal came in with a one larger unit, which would be for the big room. The larger unit is 48,000, so it's MMBTUs. And for the larger room, it would also include, so it would be the overhead ducts, but also include two wall mounted units. And they could be run separately off the same air handler, off of one heat pump. And the benefit of that would be it'd be less efficient to run the overhead with heat coming down from above. And it would take longer for it to heat up the building. So with the two side ones, they could be controlled separately with remote control. We have remote controls, so they could be turned on, say, before the before a meeting, they could be put on, so it would get warm up the space quicker. They wouldn't have to run all the time. So it could be maintained in a programmable thermostat for the space, just in general, same as the other rooms. So they all be programmable thermostats. Just the big room would have two separate units as well as the overhead unit to heat the space. Let's see. And it's a they're a, I think it's a diamond platinum dealer, so that they can get the equipment. Right now it's getting a little harder to get equipment. There's a big changeover between R410, which is a refrigerant, which they're phasing out, and they're bringing in new refrigerant. So we talked about that, and they're proposing to put in the newer refrigerant, which I would rather have in there because it's a lower global warming potential. It's a GWP type refrigerant. So it basically does less damage to the environment, and which is the whole one of the main purposes of this. So we would eliminate our natural gas. We'd get the new refrigerant for the building. There'd be electric backup, and it comes in less than our $60,000 grant, which is provided by NYSERDA. And there'll be some leftover money which we can do some other things with, but we need to get this proposal through first. They're a diamond dealer. That's what it is. Mitsubishi Diamond Dealer. So it's Mitsubishi equipment. There's 12-year parts. 12-year parts and compressor warranty. There's a 1-year parts and labor from them. They'll come in, do a training on how to work the program with thermostats, the remote best way to run the system. And the building was built. The heat pumps are set up so that it's pretty easy for them, relatively easy to come in and do it. They said once the contract gets signed, they could come in probably in July. They have to, check on getting the equipment over there and their work schedule. But they'll probably be able to do it in July. Let's see. That's the general idea, some questions, and I could pick up from there.
Since these are heat pumps, they'd also provide air conditioning, wouldn't they?
That's one of the big benefits, which the building doesn't have now. So you would be paying more, maybe you would be paying more in electricity, but also there might be a higher usage because you wouldn't have air conditioning before. You don't have it now, so you'd be using electric for air conditioning as well. But that can be programmed as well so that it's set up so it's not running all the time. And there's 3 zones, so it could be not in the big room. It could be just in the other offices and not the main room as well.
And we were using room air conditioners in some of those other places already, so they'll take the need for those away.
Yep.
I mean, the one thing that comes to my mind is that when the air quality is really bad, the system that's supposedly set up for the building involves filters to the furnaces.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll go away.
Well,
So-
there'll be filters in the new system as well, because we'll still be using the same ductwork and.
It'll be the same ductwork,
Yes.
but
It's still
where
filtered.
the filters go.
So
Because they have
would they,
filters on the wall.
they probably have their own filtration, right? Or would they be using the filters that are on the duct right now?
They're taking out what's in there now. That the system would be eliminated that's in there now. So there would be the outdoor unit, and then there would be coils, the refrigerated coils would come into the basically air handlers, which will be in the space that's there now, in the mechanical room. So they're taking out what's there. There's an outdoor unit which brings refrigerant lines into the air handlers, which are in the mechanical room where the furnaces are now. So so they'd be blowing air over the coils, putting air into the big room and the the offices. So there still would be filtration at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, that was the question. Leslie's question basically was, would they be using the filtration that's there now?
No,
Or would
no.
they have their own filtration?
The units would be gone. What's there now? So there would be other filter system for it.
Okay, all
That
right.
answers the question.
Then the units that will be put in the big room, the splits, the smaller units in the big room, they'll have a filter as well. Which there'll be some maintenance required, just like all.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Where would those big room units go?
Your house.
Along the wall, behind Leslie on that wall on that side, the south side.
Outside? Yeah.
So
Both of them.
go on that, both, they could go elsewhere, but I think both on that side, it's the side is used more. And the library would still benefit from it, but they would probably work better on the one wall. And they would
How
come
would the,
up to the floor as well.
would the condensing, would the compressor units be on adjacent? Or we wouldn't be running refrigerant lines from like the main location where the furnaces are, right?
Let's see, how would they work? They would probably come in and go through underneath the floor to the the crawl space. But everything would probably come in from the outside into the mechanical room and then go from there. It might be, I'm not sure if they'd run those separate lines outside and then into the crawl space. Actually, I think that's what they might do. They would
So I figure,
run.
how would they get from one place to the other, because there's no crawl space across underneath to go from the
Right, they
mechanical room to
they
the
would have to
main.
go outside probably.
Somehow, I mean, you got the entry there that cuts in the way to,
I have them at my house. I have one, I have
yeah,
two
but you
that
get
are,
units located each
I
one.
have one that is in my basement.
Yeah.
The unit, the outside condenser, and then the unit itself is in the basement because they made a ductwork under there.
Mhm.
So that unit is in the basement.
Yeah,
It has two. It has the
Right.
outside one and then it has the distributor, whatever you call it. But
Yeah.
it seems to me that for those technical questions, is that gonna make you change your mind about signing this?
no.
Let's
Okay.
ask your questions from the guy when they come.
That's
So you
more
can
matter. How
carry
the heck are
out.
they gonna do it?
I
But
guess, yeah, I don't think my mind is gonna change based on the question, but I am curious, are we worried about any sound from the units that'll be in this room? Because we have like a pretty quiet room,
it is true.
Yeah.
but if we add some.
The
devices
only
that can
time
get
they're
loud-
very loud is if you turn the fan all the way up, maybe you hear, I have them, you can come and listen to my house if you want, but you
So
can,
do I.
if you turn the fan way up, you'll hear it for a little while, but there's a setting for quiet, there's a picture of an ear.
That's great.
Yeah.
We have sound, isn't it?
I don't think the ducted units overhead will be any noisier. And the units that will be in the room will be just like where you see they're very quiet. They're ones that use in homes, the residential units basically that would be in on the wall in the big room.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a good fit for the grant.
I move we approve this Simply Installs contract.
I'll second that.
And so the grant is for $60,000. The quote is for 64,696, but because there's still the New York State clean heat. There's an air source heat pump incentive, which at $1,200 per BTU at 5 degrees, these would qualify. Would bring it down $15,600. So for a grand total of $49,096. That's what the contract would be for. So there would still be money left over, to which we'd look at putting EV charger, things like that on the building.
Mm-hmm. This is good. This commits the biggest chunk of the money.
Yeah.
And then once we award this contract, then we know how much money we got left over to
Right.
figure out what to do with.
Stuff it in the walls for insulation.
Wall free stuff already.
I didn't get that.
There was no-
Any further discussions? Right.
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes,
Excellent.
thanks, Jim.
Oh, and just one more, as part of the RFP, did say that we had to have, NYSERD has to approve it too. So NYSERD looks at once we get to this point where it's approved by the board, NYSERD looks it over and makes sure everything's okay with them, because they're the one putting up the money, but they saw the RFP ahead of time. I got it to them. They made a couple of comments, made the adjustments to it, so they're aware of what the RFP was, but they want to see what the contract is and make sure they're agreeable to as well, which I don't think there should be any problem.
Jim, do you need a certified resolution?
Most likely, yeah.
Okay, very good.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, essentially that was an authorization for me to sign the contract when I sort of approved it as being okay.
All righty.
All right, I move that we approve 638 East Miller Road for CDBG home rehab participation.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Trust everybody had a chance to look at it.
I think,
Windows. and
thank
doors.
goodness we still get the chance for some.
I know.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a relatively modest compared to
It's a lot of stuff for that small amount of money. I
know.
think they're doing a
I
lot for
thought the
that
same
money.
thing. I was like.
I'm like, wow, if I could do that,
Here's your
maybe
contract.
I could get all kinds of, yeah. That's good price
Mhm.
for all that stuff.
So we ready? Okay, Mariah.
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Excellent.
Back to the beginning. All right,
Identity threat protection,
Right.
detection.
Sorry, I didn't get back to you. I just I texted Joel right before the meeting to
right,
add that back.
we want to,
I can tell you what I can tell you what I heard. So I spoke to my professional contact at my workplace about identity threat detection and response, that service, and what kind of thing to expect out of an offer that. And what he described and what we went over, we just kind of researched that company and a couple other similar companies for just a quick 20 minutes. And yeah, it's as advertised. The reason why it's been recommended to us is because it's just a pretty industry standard service that makes sense. It's a good price. What they're going to do is they're going to keep an eye on our networks 24/7. They, I didn't really believe it at first, but yeah, what their model is that they have people who are human beings who receive alerts when something suspicious that fits like an industry standard pattern of suspicious behavior. They would get an alert, they would respond to it, within minutes.
Right.
And they would respond to our TCNS.
Yeah.
So, it's not like they would be like calling us in the middle of the night to say, hey, somebody's trying to get into your network, and we go, well, what do we do about it? They would contact our TCNS, or TCNS would
They
respond.
already, this is above, it's in addition to what they already are helping us with, and it's a recommended addition.
Yeah, and TCNS wouldn't have the expertise to do something like this on their own. So that's why they're recommending Huntress do it, because it's a specialized service to be watching our networks like this.
so in light of that, I move that we approve the addition of the identity threat detection and response to our current armamentarium of IT security measures.
Good word.
How much is that?
$5 email user per month.
It's $130 a month,
So it's works out to about $130 a month.
$1,500 for the whole year.
Per person with like a Microsoft 365 license, I believe, is probably
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah, so it'd be per person who has email or access to SharePoint.
So
things
it's
like
based
that.
on how many email users we have, and we made that determination, it worked out to about 120, the town clerk was still adjusting how many users we have, we're bumping off people who aren't actually using their town email accounts. But that's what it worked out to, right, Mariah?
Yes. Yes.
Did I have a second?
Second,
Yeah.
I thought we already had one. Or maybe, okay, go for it.
We do now.
Yeah.
Do we, want to discuss it anymore? Any questions?
What-
Are we
what is that
paying, are we paying anything for security right now?
Oh, sure.
What? I mean,
We're
part of the
paying,
whole-
what is it, $2,800 a month or something?
It's the
how
whole,
much?
it's the whole TCNS contract.
Yeah,
includes
this is a
security.
supplement
This is
too.
Yes.
Supplemental.
What we're doing already.
Because this is, as Tyler said, it's not something that, it's beyond, it's above and beyond, and we have had issues, because
Well, we haven't had
Yes,
it,
we have.
but,
we have.
what's his name? At TCNS. Thought that, this is an increasingly common form of attack.
Right.
That we would, for modest additional cost, could defend ourselves against.
Right.
And so he recommended that we added.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that they would detect, for instance, would be if one of us were, or someone else with a town email account were to click on a phishing link. That should produce the type of signal that they would immediately see, and then they would contact TCNS and let them know that a security event was like underway.
We have had it. We've had some of those. So I think it is worth it.
Mhm. Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not necessarily up to date, but I imagine our current situation would be that if we, like, our security would depend on if we suspected that we had clicked on a link, we would contact TCNS.
Right.
Right, we put it, we click.
If we noticed,
Click the fish, suspected fish,
Yeah.
link. If we notice and we don't act, we
Right.
don't click on it because we think it's real and misread it,
right,
I will say, no, I don't want to take too much time on this, but I would say that they want us to use those fish buttons. And
Yeah.
I've been trying to use them more often, and they have, when I was right, it was a fish thing, they write a nice little note, thank you very much, you're keeping everything safe, and yes,
Mhm.
you're right. But that was one of ours to do, to find out if you would
Mhm.
would get caught.
Yeah.
It seems appropriate if I just want to say, because Tyler was doing that, I decided to call the county again. And I made a contact with the person there, not regarding the huntress or anything, but to talk to them because the county launched a cybersecurity program in partnership with New York. This was done in May of 24. So that's interesting. I'm going to find out more so I can report more about that. Or maybe it's nothing to do with this, except it is, but anyway, I'm ready to vote on this unless.
Does
there's
anybody
more.
else have any questions? Are we ready?
Can I ask how much per year? How much for this year would it be?
The estimate is $1,500 for the year.
Can I suggest, because we've got to find a line item to take that out of, because that's new, the contingent, our contingent amount?
Yeah.
Okay, good idea. And thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah.
It's okay.
What, you mean you have to pay for it? So, amend the motion to include with the funding to come from the contingent account. Okay, agreeable to the
Yes.
secretary? Okay. I think we're ready, Mariah.
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
yes,
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes.
Very good.
Okay, let's see. Greg. Well, maybe not Greg. Well, maybe. There's been a bunch of discussion. You may recall at the last meeting that the board said, go ahead and do an RFP for professional services to address the accessibility
Right.
from and in the meantime, I've spoken to Zach, I've spoken to Steve, I've spoken to Greg. And several things are now clear. One is that we couldn't spec it ourselves even if we wanted to, because Steve's treating it like a commercial installation, and as such, you have to have an engineer stamp or an architect engineer stamp on the plans, which is to say, we'd have to hire somebody to fully develop the plans anyway. The only question was whether, well, not the only question, but one of the remaining questions was the scope of the RFP. We could either go for a start over from scratch thing, do a needs assessment and develop a fully developed set of specifications for an approved accessibility plan. Or we could pick up where we left off and simply hire somebody to flesh out what we've already agreed we want to do and develop a set of specs for that, which is a narrower scope. That was a question and remained a question, but then interesting development happened, I think it was yesterday, that Greg can tell you about.
Yeah, that was just today. So I had a meeting with some a TG Miller engineer today about a separate project. And
Finally,
and he came in and talked about, yeah, well, no, it was about a completely separate project, but then then he brought up the crosswalk and said, you know, we'd like to put something together. But he went into, you know, talking about creating landings for the crosswalk, and has the town considered maybe tying those into the town hall and how that accessibility works? And I said, well, actually, the town did move to explore that formally through an RFP for town accessibility into the town hall. So they're going to put together, at least they'd like to come to a town board meeting, maybe in July, and just present sort of a really high level sort of proposal of just what it would take to get there, to include both projects as one. And he felt that you know, you get that the town would get its best bang for its buck rather than doing them completely separately. Plus they really do tie into each other. And Catherine, if you recall, that was when Dave was out here with us.
Yes, yeah.
We talked about part of their work for the crosswalk was shooting topo around the parking lot.
mm-hmm.
In case the town wanted to tie in that landing down to the main entrance.
Yep.
Anyway, so
And
it almost felt like they were reading the town's mind of just that the town is looking at to do accessibility improvements.
And he said that if they did that all together, that topo and all the area thing, that that would be a cost that might be better than if we had to do two studies, one for the sidewalk and one for that. And he mentioned also some of the issues with the parking lot would show up in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that kind of survey of it.
Yeah, that too. I mean, I think how far out does this scope go? Does it go into the parking lot? How far out into the parking lot? I think those things are still are a little bit undetermined.
Yeah.
And I told him that. I said there is sort of a conceptual proposal for the front entrance, but maybe it's worth almost to take another step back and just start with a designer about those options. I don't want to sort of reinvent that wheel, but that can be.
It does broaden the scope though, because I mean, if you wanted to have an accessible pathway from the crosswalk to a accessible pathway for entry into the building, that's problematic because the slope on the driveway, the entryway is pretty steep. We haven't, do we want to look at that?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to look at that. As long as we have the opportunity, rather than just ignoring all those possibilities, we should look at it now. And then when we get the results, then we're not committing to the design, we're asking to get that information.
The design and the study are two different things.
I know, that's why I think we should do the study and broaden the study. Yes, I think we should do the study.
It's considerably more expensive to do, the broader we make it. Unless he backed off.
No, well, I think what I'm getting at is that they're two separate projects right now. There's the project the town wants to have a crosswalk and design the landing pads that the state requires. And then the town board voted last meeting or the meeting before to issue an RFP for accessibility modifications to the town hall entrance. As part of our conversation today, he was focusing on the crosswalk, but asking the question, should we consider an accessible path from that crosswalk to the town hall entrance? And so we just talked about it. I let him know that the board did, move to explore the accessibility modifications here, and I'd be issuing that soon. But I'm thinking, what I'm getting at is, I'm thinking, rather than go through that, the town board could identify, or at least invite TG Miller in at the July 7th or 21st meeting to just give a little proposal of what they think, and also the chance for the town, for you all to comment on about what the needs are. And then you could, go into a contract with TG Miller as just part of the professional services agreement without the need of going through an RFP.
Right, that's really what we're talking about here, it's essentially having a consulting engineer rather than doing RFP. And there's also the possibility, if we get them on board, that they could do the design for the skate park.
Well, I think that is good to bring up too, but maybe just keeping the focus on the.
Well, I mean, this is something you recall, we already told Zach, he was going to try to line up an architect or engineer to do the crosswalk and the skate park building, improvements that we needed in order to, make that building serviceable for the skate park. And then I talked to Zach, and that turned out to be a non-trivial undertaking because it's hard to get a hold of. So this might present an alternative approach, because now we're talking about, linking accessibility, which takes the crosswalk off the thing, but then we're leaving the one thing stranded. Why not include all three as sort of a, engineering consulting service kind of thing? Where if we're contracting for, if we're contracting for professional services, you have, it's in the procurement policy that you don't have to do bidding.
Right. No, I know that. Yeah.
So it's going to end up being, so much an hour for whatever time it takes to do whatever we ask them to do. So we have to be careful what the scope of the work is, and that's something to talk about. But we know what the scope is we don't know what the scope is if we limit the scope for the crosswalk to the landing pads and the scope for the skate park to the building, and the scope for the accessibility to what we've got worked out is an accessible pathway from parking spot to the entry door, then that's a project. It would carefully define scope. If we broaden it to include getting from A to B, that's a bigger scope, looking at the whole campus, if you will. And that kind of costs more money, obviously.
Are you asking what does the whole thing, or are we asking how much is it gonna cost for them to come to the meeting? Because I'm curious about that.
I think we should wait. I think we should have them come to the meeting. We're making up questions now that we can't answer. We should have them come to the meeting and talk to them.
Yeah, but I mean.
What's it gonna cost for the needs assessment and the specifications for, is there,
Right.
or is it just the proposal, and then if we hire them, we're still hiring them for their plans,
Doing it,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, do we have an idea of what it'll cost?
No, but they would come to the board prepared to talk about that.
Yeah, if we tell
I
them,
think
here's what we're weighing.
what they, again, Danby, his name is Don Harner. He came to talk about the crosswalk and said, yeah, we're still sorry about that. Sorry, we're kind of slow on this. We are planning to give you a proposal for that. But he said, but we're thinking, have you thought about the accessibility to the town hall? And then I let him know that we were going to issue an RFP anyway. And we just got talking about that and thinking it just might make sense to at least just to hear them out about how they would approach. How would they approach the problem from designing a crosswalk landing on this side and that side of the state route, and then down into the town hall and modifying this entrance? So And he suggested that they could come to the town board meeting to talk about it. And he was, you know, it could be like here's 1, 2, 3 ways that we could approach this. And then if the town board decided on one of those ways, maybe it takes a couple meetings to get through or some time, then there'd be a contract with them for design and engineering. But so not for construction, it's just the design and engineering
Right,
component,
right.
but getting it to
Right, and then we still
a
have to
place
bid.
then to put out for bid.
High probability we'd have to end up having to do competitive bids for at least for the accessibility project. It's gonna be almost certainly more money than we can do without having that competitive bidding process.
Just the last thing I'll say, he did ask if there was any designing up until this point, because I think maybe Paul had drawn something up.
Yeah, we can
I
share.
don't know. Maybe you
Yeah,
have
we
that.
have lots of plans.
It was 4 people, Joel,
Yeah.
Zach, Mariah,
We
Steve.
have the plans.
We have,
I
Okay,
mean,
so if
they're
I,
pretty
Do you
rudimentary.
have the original plans?
we do, yeah.
well,
It goes way back.
we've got,
And
Yeah.
yes, we do.
So all right, Mariah, I'll just ask you for those and then, well, I guess I'll just see what
Yeah.
more things, does that?
I mean,
approach
maybe it's
sound good?
better to not show them the plans and find out what they come up with.
Well, that was the alternative, was whether you go back to square one and say, how would you do it?
Yeah,
Or we give them here's how we decided to do it. We need specifications to make it happen.
I think it would be very useful to get information from some other professionals about suggestions.
You're suggesting backing up.
That's what I am.
Yeah.
I want them to come to the meeting.
But the first thing
Yeah,
we need.
The
them to come
question
to the
was
meeting.
whether or not to give them the plans, it sounds like, and I don't see any problem with letting them see
Of
it.
course not.
Yeah, even if they don't use them, it's just, here's where we're at
Here's
now.
our-
Right.
our current thinking, as it were.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where we got stuck.
So, I move we put them on the agenda for next time.
Yeah.
I just wanna
well,
see if
whenever they
that
can
come,
come.
if it's 7th works.
I think you told me that.
Find out
you
when they
thought
can
it did.
come. Yeah.
Sure, I'll at least ask if
Yeah.
they can.
Well, I mean, we invite them to come next time if they can,
Yeah,
if
I'll
they
do
can make it, because we certainly like to have it sooner than later.
We got it. We
Okay.
got it. Grace got it.
Yeah. Did you give Steve his notice?
Keep sitting right
Oh,
there.
he's here. I didn't see him walk in.
He snuck in.
It
I
must be
saw
done
him.
by now, but yeah, because we're not quite done, but we're getting there. We have run over without extending our time.
Yes, it's new.
What would you like to propose?
I don't have a ladder, so we can't get the hand to go back.
Yeah, right. I can get up there, but I don't think we're too much good. We only have one other item except the executive session, but we need to give
What?
ourselves time.
One other
We
item.
only have one more item except for the executive session, but we need to give ourselves time.
What's the item that's set for the executive session?
The pond administration help.
The what?
Pond.
Oh, it
I
sounds,
think
that sounds,
if you give yourself an hour and don't use it, that's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm moving to give ourselves an hour.
Check the rules, find out if we have to stay the whole hour.
No, you don't.
Not allowed to leave the table.
Is there a second?
Yes. Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
No.
let's get through this.
Okay, right.
What was this?
Centers,
Yes.
Extend the meeting for an
Hunter?
hour.
Yes,
Stein,
we're not-
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes, it's up to, not.
Right.
Not that we have
Let's
to
go.
use the whole hour.
and do we just move that we're gonna do the pond thing?
Yes,
I'm
that's the next
okay with
thing.
it.
That we appoint, that we
Right,
hire, even though we sort of already, Mary
Yes.
Ann, William Montgomery and Jeremiah.
yeah.
Second.
For to be the operators and.
Well, they all live right there. It's
That's
kinda-
true, they're all living right there. Cool. I don't see my point for discussion. Right?
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes,
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Excellent.
What did she say?
Yes.
Excellent.
It's all right. I move we go into an executive session with our code officer to review scope of duties and performance.
I'll second that.
Any discussion about that? Okay, Mariah?
Who all is invited?
Oh, that's a good point. Besides Steve, Mariah, if you will.
Well, I mean, usually, you don't take minutes during the meeting.
Yeah, not necessarily take minutes, so it's a question of, you know, she doesn't have to be there if you don't want her.
Not
I
for
mean, I think
minutes.
just Steve, just Steve.
Usually
Okay.
just the board.
The board and Steve, all right.
Okay, Connors,
Yeah.
Hunter,
Yes.
Stein,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yeah,
excellent. This,
so for all you folks in the audience and in Zoom land, we'll be back
In less than an hour.
in less than an hour. And we can go down the hall to the room which serves as
Can't
office.
extend it.
You gonna hang out?
It's, you know, we don't have, so let's, those are the second.
Is it like how far? Oh, yeah, it's worth it. Really? Okay. So it would be fun. Well, I was curious, you were like.
On the house.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So I bet the guy.
Thanks, you will.
Congratulations.
I'm here every day. Thanks, Tyler.
It's just.
Yeah, I've heard he's. And that's why there's been, real progress.
That's good to know this stuff.
Wait, hang on. I'm just gonna mute this.
all right. You're all muted.
I can't eat them.
There we go. All right, so we were, let's see. Pat moved that we come out of executive session
I second.
and Leslie seconded it and we were ready for a vote.
Okay. Woodworth and Connors seconded it.
Yep.
Connors,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yep.
Stein,
Yep.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon,
Yes.
excellent.
Anything anybody wants to mention for the next agenda?
Nope.
Okay, well then, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, it's only 5 minutes to 10.
Hmm?
Yeah. 20 minutes to 10. Oh, yeah.
Lively, having fun.
Everybody have
Five
a,
o'clock.
have a safe drive.